Hey guys, it's your boy Time Fast again, and today we're gonna be taking a look at the Earthree armor. So here we go. If you want to check out the Earthree whole review, or I should say that the other way around, if you want to look at the core Gundam separately, there's a link in the description down below, if I'm not mistaken, and you can watch my whole review of the core Gundam separately. But now let's take a look at the Earthree armor. Now, before I built the Earthree, I thought it was like, oh, what the heck is this thing? And after building it, yeah, it kind of grew on me. I did build the Marsfour before it, and having a blue one in the form of the Earthree is kind of okay. It has those weapons, and also this planet system has a sticker on there if it was not clear enough. And here's the funny thing though. You see this base which holds the planet system together? Well, that little base can also be used as a somewhat action base for the Earthree, aka the core Gundam, because it is small but it doesn't give you much aerial poses, so this is a little thing which is kind of fun to mess around with. Okay, on to more serious notes. Let's just take a look at the planet system. Let's get the core Gundam prepared. So before you put on the armor, we have to extend the arms as usual, and then fold down these feet as far as they can go, which is like this, and bring up the beam sabers. And this is going to be the initial mode of the Earthree. Also, in advance, I would suggest you remove the arms, the hands, and this is the initial stage. Bring in the planet system of the Earthree, and what we want to do first, can you just focus camera? There we go. Is remove the feet because they're the most biggest ones, and this is how I like to do it. You can do it any way you want. Remove the shield and remove this extending of the beam rifle, and we're left with something like this. Take off these little wing sections and take this part right here. Now, these two parts at the front is what I wanted to access, because these are going to be the most tedious parts for you to put on the core Gundam. So first off, you're going to have to remove these small little parts. And then these, that's the front skirts, these will just be removed simply as that. Now, putting them back on is going to be the hard one. And we'll just cast it to the side first for a second. Yes, this has become a mess of a review, but I'm just going to continue anyway. So this goes on under here, and if my hand isn't disturbing, yes it is, because it's really hard for you to get this mashed in. So anyway, after you slide it, you're gonna slide it to the chest and grab on this part right here and just carefully put them on, and there you go. Do it on the same side as well, just like so. You have two parts of the chest on the core Gundam. Next off, we're gonna take this section of the back skirt, and here is the back hole, and just slide it in like so, which leaves us now with the arm parts. Once you got these parts out, just slide them into the hole where the hands usually go, and just slide them on like so. You have to pinch them if you want to, so that it does feel a bit more secure. There you go. These blue parts right here, take them off, grab the hand and just slide them on the top, just like so, and just peg them on to the new parts of the arms, and they look like the arms have become bigger. And this looks kind of weird now, don't you think? Take these parts off the planet system and just slide them onto the core Gundam's shoulders, and these ones, despite them just sliding on, they do feel secure. And we're almost done. Now just flip up the front skirts, and with these parts that I took off earlier because one of them flew away, just slide them onto the pegs. There's peg, and there's this hole, and just slide it on, and you got the front skirts. Next up are the feet, and of course they slide onto the holes which are under the leg here, and there is a peg in there if you can see it though. I don't know if you can, but getting this on is the most hard process because you have to line everything up, and sometimes it doesn't actually work in my case because I don't know the placement of these holes, which is kind of hard as I'm filming this in a long distance. Getting getting them is a little bit hard. Come on, just get in there. Yeah, wait. We're almost there we go. And yeah, the feet are on, and just flip up these feet like so. We're almost done here, and I have to bring the camera up now because it's already tall. Also, the wings I just pulled out earlier, just plug them into the backpack and it aligns perfectly with the thruster, and it kind of looks complete. Now wait a minute. There's this one more part here on the Earthree planet system, or whatever I want to call it. I don't remember, sorry. I never watched Build Divers. I'm gonna do this off camera, wait a second. And finally, take this blue part and just stick it into his head. And there we go. We're basically done. Now hold up, we're not done yet. Take the shield from the core Gundam and take this extended part from the Earth armor and just combine them to form this big shield. And with the tiny little core spray gun, just take this part from the Earthree armor just now, and just like the shield and most of the Earthree armor itself, just slide it in like so. Now with all of that process done, here we have the Earthree Gundam in all of its blue and white glory. And I gotta say, at first I thought this was like, what kind of a design was this? But after like accepting it, looking at it for a few times, and now having the model kit in hand, it looks pretty badass in my opinion. Although some people may hate the Earthree concept for it like having the feet of the core Gundam at the back there. If you ignore the fact and it kind of looks like thrusters, well, it's a easy pass. And yeah, blue and white really does go well with this thing. And before anyone asks, yes, before and during the course of this review, I haven't took out the beam sabers out of this runner, but we all know how beam sabers work, so it's kind of irrelevant for me to do that now. Articulation time, as usual, from the head down. Now, you may think that after putting all of this armor, it gets limited, but no. So the head looks up really far and looks down that far amount. Still got chicken movement, and rotation is still available. The arms have not changed at all. If you're asking for forwards motion, there's a little bit, just like the core Gundam used to have. Rotation is still available, but because of the beam sabers and the wing parts at the back here, it's gonna be a little bit limited. Now, outwards movement, which I think I forgot to mention in the core Gundam review, the outwards movement is only about that much. It's all blocked for whatever reason. Bicep rotation is still there. Still double jointed elbows, but not as much as the core Gundam because of the armor, but then again, that is standard. And of course, the standard ball socket wrist. Going to the waist, you may think it's all limited due to the backpack, but nah, it's always been limited with the core Gundam anyway, so it's not that big of a change. Front skirts move up, and now it's kind of easier for them to move up because they're longer. I would advise you to chop these off because having two front skirts moving up is not always the best sight. Now, with the skirting, things get a little bit limited. The forwards kick, it's limited from the front skirts. If you want to get more, it's gonna have to be like this. And of course, because of the addition to the back skirt, there's not gonna be backwards movement that much, unlike the core Gundam, which didn't have any back skirts. Sideways splits, it's just like the core Gundam, nothing much has changed. Even these things do not get in the way, it's just a design. Rotation at the thighs is still there. And of course, unlike the Earthree, unlike the core Gundam, which was a single joint and the feet doing the joint double jointed, with the Earthree Gundam, it's pretty much okay. This foot here kind of gets flat with this section, so it does look like a double jointed knee from this side. And from this side, you just have to ignore the fact that this is the core Gundam's foot. Try to ignore that fact. And this is where things really get good, I guess. So this is having the hinge, swivel joint, and ball joint combo. So the swivel joint allows you for rotation just like so. And then the hinge joint up here allows you for downwards movement and no upwards movement because of the thing this is designed for. And now, unlike the core Gundam, which was scary enough to do any pivots because it was so tight, this one, just pivot away because there's a simple poly cap in there. You can get the full pivots. So yeah, the Earthree is pretty much a posing machine. It's solid and it's pretty much okay. I would advise you to not always take off and put on the armor like a normal basis because it's plastic rubbing against plastic, and we all know how that is going to turn out in the long run. As for accessories, let's talk about the shield for a minute. The shield here is a little bit more longer than usual. And it also has this hinge joint which allows you to see the sight in there, which I don't know the purpose why, but I think I do now. It's for you to connect this with the beam rifle. Then you might be wondering why I'm doing this without the core or the Earthree Gundam with it, because the fact is, and I repeat the fact is, it's kind of hard for you to get all of this aligned with the Earthree. Take my word for it, you can do it, but it's kind of tedious, and I won't go that extra length to do it. But anyway, they do combine like this, which is kind of cool. Split that apart if it's possible. Damn, it's tight. So anyway, with the beam rifle here, this looks like a short end if you think so. Yeah, it does, but this can actually be removed and put slightly more to the back. Just like so. I'll do it with the other side, and I'm not gonna cut this section so you can see how hard it is to do. And it basically becomes like this. Pretty crafty, huh? And of course, putting them on the core Gundam is pretty much simple, as one would say. Of course, putting the beam rifle is easy, just slide it to the arm and hold the hands together. But putting on the shield is a totally different story. I will tell you why, because they expect you to hold it like this, just like the core Gundam would, which I understand it's much more easier to do it like that. Now, if you wanted to get to the side of the arm, it's gonna be a different story. Now, I'll tell you why, because first of all, you're gonna have to take out the peg, which I mentioned a few more times in the past. Take the peg and twist the arm like so until you get this configuration right here. And then what you want to do is slide this peg and slide the connection point to the hole on the Earthree's arm. And this is where it gets hard, because you do it on the first try, it's going to be really hard and tedious. But once you get it all lined up, like I'm doing it right now, it becomes okay, I guess. Yeah, it works. And I know some of you are gonna hate me for not doing it, but here, I did it. There. It's connected with the beam rifle. I told you it's kind of hard to do. And I know that I have limited time, so that's why I'm just gonna speed things up. And before anyone else asks, yes, it can use an action base because it has a hole in it. And if you're wondering what happened to the planet system, well, there you go. It's all naked right now. Now on to some size comparisons. First off, here he is next to the high-grade Granddaddy Revive, and of course the first-grade Exia. And as you can see here, in 1/144th scale, from core to Earthree, the Earthree is basically very tall compared to the Granddaddy Gundam, and also taller than the Gundam Exia. And next up, here he is side by side with the Gundam, which is from the Build Fighters universe, the Star Built Strike, and of course, its other variant, which is the Marsfour Gundam. And one thing to note is that These two are exactly the same, which means you can mix and match parts if you want to. And one more thing is that I said split the front skirts. Well, I split the front skirts on the Marsfour, which is why I recommend you do the same thing with the Earthree. And if this video was long enough, I'm just gonna combine the Earthree and the Marsfour armors so that I don't have to make a separate video. And I'm gonna do this off camera, so here we go. You can either have it half red or half blue, which I like to call the heat trigger or kinder custom. Or you can just do whatever the hell you want with it. In this case, I mixed and matched the colors and it kinda looks okay. If you want to, you can also just remove this white part and replace it with the Marsfour if you want to, whatever it works for you. So that concludes the video, and as you can see, I already put him back as Earthree. And if you're wanting to get this kit, there are a few things you need to take note of. Now, first of all, the putting on the armor and taking off the armor is actually really hard, and can get tedious and really hard if you didn't get the hang of it for the first time. And as you can see, as I'm talking behind the scenes, I'm putting back my Marsfour because the Marsfour has been through hell to combine the armor of the Earthree to make those customs. And that's the one thing I have to tell you about the negatives, is that this is plastic rubbing against plastic, and I suggest you do not do that too often, because behind the scenes, what I'm talking right now is that the Marsfour has become noticeably loose after I put on the armor on and off multiple times when I first got this kit, because I was so impressed by the design of the Earthree and the Marsfour. Now, of course, this thing is new, which I newly built, which doesn't have the issues that I talked about with the Marsfour, but over time it will appear. That's one thing to keep note. Another thing to keep note is that the fragility of the armors. Now, when I built this thing and put on the armors, I was literally afraid of the chest armor snapping because it was kind of tight, and most of the time, if you're not careful, it will snap. If you're a barbarian, that is, it will snap if you're not careful. Now, that's enough of the negatives I can point out. What are the positives? Well, almost everything else. The fact that it doesn't come with that many stickers and the fact it looks colorful out of the box is a pretty much blessing already. And the fact that it comes with a lot of accessories for a complete package of the Earthree is pretty much good. I say that because from what I have experienced, the Marsfour and the V2, I don't have the V2, but I do have the Marsfour, the lack of accessories really does demolish the fun you may have with it. So, like almost every other YouTuber out there, I recommend the Earthree as well because it's pretty much the complete package. Unless if you just don't care about the lack of accessories and just want it to look cool, then maybe you can get the other variants as well. I do recommend the Marsfour because it's pretty much red and it's all spiky. And while I'm talking about that, the Marsfour is already here. It took me a long time and that talking to finally complete it. And this one is still pretty much solid, and this part, sometimes it will fall off, but now it's being a good boy. Now getting back to the Earthree, and I know this review was a mess. Positives, it's solid, it's fun to play around with, and it pretty much comes with everything else. Negatives, some of the articulation is limited in core Gundam mode, and some of the weapons do not make sense, and I believe there are a few things you need to color up to make it look cool. Of course, panel lining will get you a long way. I did not panel line this kit, as I said, it's straight build. And the negatives I said earlier was the fact that the armor putting on gimmick, it is a bit hard if you don't get used to it. So, final verdict, do I recommend this kit? Absolutely. If you're really into build diverse re-rise, if you like unique gunpla and you basically like mixing matching parts, I recommend you get the Earthree and the other variants it has, even the Season 2 ones. If you don't like it from the first time you see it, and if you really don't like the design of the Earthree, and let alone if you really hate Build Divers Re-Rise from the start, stay away from this kit. It is pricey at the price of 62 ringgit, which I got. It's not that expensive in my case because it is a complete package. So I recommend if you like the kit, just go for it. Anyway, that was Time Fast. I have to get into the other reviews at later this day. And I'll see you next time. Take care, guys.